The result of being around that man, Sean Puffy Combs, I don't sleep to this day. I have a problem sleeping to this day. Like, yo, man, I'm here to work, man. I ain't sang in a week. I mean, I'm 13 years old, and I'm telling him, look, you're gonna put me in the studio, man. You got Biggie Smalls in there, you got Craig Mack in there. I'm not here to party with you. I don't want to go to the clubs. Matter of fact, I'm too young to even be in here. Why you got me in clubs? We would fight, we would tussle.
Kick in the door, waving the 4-4. All you heard was Papa, don't hit me no more. Let's go. Kick in the door, waving the 4-4. Hey, hey, hey.
Puff and Usher did have a situation. And that situation led Usher to the hospital. Now I let Usher explain that to y'all. And he said, yo, would you send your son to Diddy camp? And Usher said, no, no. Ask him why he won't send him to Diddy camp.
All right, let's get into it, because 50 Cent just lit a match and dropped it straight into Diddy's legacy. For years, Diddy positioned himself as the ultimate mentor, the man who took raw talent and turned it into superstardom. And in the case of Usher, that's the image he sold to the public. A young, wide-eyed teenager trying to break into the music industry was handed over to Diddy's care like some kind of rite of passage. But behind the scenes, according to 50 Cent, it was a completely different story, and once you hear the details, that whole big brother image falls apart real fast. Diddy didn't just mentor Usher, he introduced him to a world most teenagers have no business being in. Wild parties, strange environments, grown men with power and money circling like vultures.
Parties are the hottest ticket around.
They won't even give me a permit for the parties, man. They don't want me to throw the parties no more. But we ain't gonna stop. We gonna keep on having fun, bringing people together from all walks of life. You're gonna hear about my party. They're gonna be shutting them down. They're gonna probably be arresting me, doing all types of crazy things just because we wanna have a good time. You know, whenever you bring up a different element into people's environment, things that broaden people's horizon, people get intimidated. There's a lot of people out there that feel intimidated by it. It ain't nothing but break it down racial barriers, break it down generation barriers. People from all walks of life. Ron Perlman talking to Jay-Z, Jay-Z talking to, you know what I'm saying? It just goes on and on, you know, it's just like people from all walks of life connecting and getting together.
Dying to get into your party. How does that make you feel?
It doesn't make me feel any way special, it doesn't make me feel like a bigger person, it just makes me feel like I know how to throw a party.
Clip what started off as guidance quickly turned into exposure. Exposure to things no kid should ever be around. And 50, he's not holding anything back. In fact, he's been dropping hints for years, but now he's saying it loud and clear. Diddy allegedly gave Usher to other industry men, while hiding behind the label of mentorship. And what's worse, Usher made it. He became the star they wanted, but that success came with scars and silence. He never really spoke about what went down, but 50, and he's calling it out for what it was, a setup, a carefully orchestrated web where Diddy wasn't just a bystander, he was the gatekeeper. And now that the truth is starting to come out, it's not just Usher people are looking at, it's everyone Diddy ever brought into his circle. So if you thought this was just another industry rumor, think again. This is about power, control, and a young Usher being thrown into something he never signed up for. Let's get into what 50 Cent just revealed and why it's sending shockwaves across the industry. Before Diddy ever became linked to Justin Bieber, he had already played a major role in the early career of another young star, Usher Raymond. In the 1990s and early 2000s, Usher was seen as one of the brightest rising talents in R&B, and it was during this period that Diddy stepped into his life, presenting himself as a mentor and guide. Usher was just a teenager when he entered the music industry, and Diddy, already an established figure in the hip-hop and R&B scenes, took him under his wing. At the time, it seemed like a dream opportunity. Diddy had influence, connections, and a track record of creating stars. To the outside world, this relationship looked like a powerful music executive helping a talented young artist find his voice and his place in the industry. Diddy didn't just help with Usher's music, he opened the door to a lifestyle most teens could never imagine. He introduced Usher to the entertainment world's inner circles, its culture, and its chaos. For a young artist trying to find his footing, Diddy's mentorship came with access to high-profile events, exposure to luxury, and the kind of industry experience that could never be taught in a classroom. But it didn't stop there. Diddy also reportedly brought Usher into his personal life in ways that many now look back on with raised eyebrows. And 50 knows all of this because while he never attended Puffy parties, he knew what the industry entailed, and he knew what was going on. According to resurfaced clips and stories that have re-entered public conversations over the last year, Diddy wasn't just managing Usher's music career, he was bringing him into adult environments that many now say were inappropriate for someone so young. Usher once revealed that he'd stayed at Diddy's house as a teen, and that time under Diddy's roof came with parties, older women, and a kind of freedom most teens aren't used to.
Moved to New York City, and I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you over to something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn
Flavor Camp?
Yeah,
Flavor
that's what it
Camp.
was called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
In the 90s, do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and like nonstop, right?
No, not really. I
Come
mean,
on.
but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was, but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
So nobody tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't say that. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place. And I didn't necessarily understand it.
Biggie Smalls was there.
Biggie Smalls was there. Lil' Kim, Craig Mack.
All these people are hanging around.
Yeah, man. Faith Evans,
And your parents
Jodeci,
were
Mary J.
okay?
Blige. They didn't know nothing about this. I was having a good time, you know what I mean?
Does he have you doing any chores? Are you doing dishes at all? I mean, to keep you humble somewhat? Or are you just like, can you stay up till 4 a.m. with them and party?
I mean, I could. I actually stayed up longer than them.
And do you have money? What's going on?
I mean, I had like per diem.
Yeah.
I had like,
What
like
a
living.
life.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy Camp?
Hell no.
At the time, the music world didn't ask questions. People were dazzled by Usher's success, and Diddy was celebrated for helping shape him into a superstar. But in hindsight, many are questioning the dynamics of that mentorship. What kind of guidance exposes a minor to adult situations? What was really happening behind the scenes when a teenage Usher was being brought around elite parties and powerful men? The truth is, the line between mentorship and manipulation is blurring, and as more people speak up, Usher's name keeps coming up. While Usher himself hasn't accused Diddy of anything criminal, the public is revisiting the circumstances, and 50 isn't keeping it hidden anymore. Clip 4, Jaguar Wright has been one of the loudest voices calling attention to what she says really happened to Usher during his time with Diddy. In multiple interviews, she's claimed that Diddy didn't just mentor Usher, he manipulated him. She says Diddy used his influence and power to put Usher in situations never appropriate for someone his age. Worse, Jaguar alleges that Diddy sent Usher to be around other men in the industry, implying these encounters weren't about music at all, but about control and influence. She painted a disturbing picture of a teenage Usher, isolated from his family, told this was the price for success. According to her, Diddy led him to believe that playing along with certain powerful figures was part of the game, and Usher wasn't the only one. Jaguar claims he was just one of the earliest and most high-profile examples, and because he became so successful, the industry turned a blind eye. People saw the fame, the awards, the magazine covers, and assumed everything was fine. But according to Jaguar, the truth was far more painful. She described men leaving Diddy's house in shock, sometimes running out, overwhelmed by whatever they'd just been exposed to. And yet, Usher stayed because he was made to believe this was training, that this was how superstars were built.
He been sucking on Diddy's dick a long time. It's time for him to learn how to make this thing happen without the devil's dick in his mouth or ass.
You don't think if he sued, he'll just Lil Woody the situation? And I don't recall. I don't recall.
No, because I think if a victim comes out against Usher, it'll show how egregious this shit is. Because if he can be a predator, then anybody can be a predator.
Can't smile in your face the whole time.
You feel what I'm saying? Like, people look at Usher, they don't see that. They not seeing the victim. They not seeing that boy that got rushed to the hospital. They not seeing what the intentions was in his heart when he took Justin Bieber there.
Jaguar Wright has been one of the loudest voices calling attention to what she says really happened to Usher during his time with Diddy. In multiple interviews, she's claimed that Diddy didn't just mentor Usher, he manipulated him. She says Diddy used his influence and power to put Usher in situations never appropriate for someone his age. Worse, Jaguar alleges that Diddy sent Usher to be around other men in the industry, implying these encounters weren't about music at all, but about control and influence. She painted a disturbing picture of a teenage Usher, isolated from his family, told this was the price for success. According to her, Diddy led him to believe that playing along with certain powerful figures was part of the game, and Usher wasn't the only one. Jaguar claims he was just one of the earliest and most high-profile examples, and because he became so successful, the industry turned a blind eye. People saw the fame, the awards, the magazine covers, and assumed everything was fine. But according to Jaguar, the truth was far more painful. She described men leaving Diddy's house in shock, sometimes running out, overwhelmed by whatever they'd just been exposed to. And yet Usher stayed, because he was made to believe this was training, that this was how superstars were built. Jaguar Wright has been one of the loudest voices calling attention to what she says really happened to Usher during his time with Diddy. In multiple interviews, she's claimed that Diddy didn't just mentor Usher, he manipulated him. She says Diddy used his influence and power to put Usher in situations never appropriate for someone his age. Worse, Jaguar alleges that Diddy sent Usher to be around other men in the industry, implying these encounters weren't about music at all, but about control and influence. She painted a disturbing picture of a teenage Usher, isolated from his family, told this was the price for success. According to her, Diddy led him to believe that playing along with certain powerful figures was part of the game, and Usher wasn't the only one. Jaguar claims he was just one of the earliest and most high-profile examples, and because he became so successful, the industry turned a blind eye. People saw the fame, the awards, the magazine covers, and assumed everything was fine. But according to Jaguar, the truth was far more painful. She described men leaving Diddy's house in shock, sometimes running out, overwhelmed by whatever they'd just been exposed to. And yet, Usher stayed because he was made to believe this was training, that this was how superstars were built.
There's a famous clip of Puffy that's resurfaced with a very young Justin Bieber saying, "I've got custody of Justin for 48 hours, and what we're going to do, we cannot divulge." I mean, these guys tell you who they are. They may do it with like a wink and a nod, but they're telling you, this is a bad, dangerous guy, and I knew he wasn't going to get bail.
So now, when people look back at Usher's career, they're asking different questions. Not about how he got famous, but about what it cost him. Jaguar Wright has added new claims, not just about Diddy, but about Usher too. She alleges Usher may have knowingly played a role in bringing others into the same environment he once experienced. Specifically, she claims Usher was fully aware of Diddy's intentions when it came to Justin Bieber, and despite knowing how damaging that world could be, Usher still helped introduce Bieber to Diddy's circle. If true, that means Usher wasn't just a former victim. He may have helped feed the system, and that has sparked outrage. The idea that someone who once said he saw curious things could later allow another teenager into that same situation. It's left people questioning his responsibility. Was it pressure, fear, something else? Jaguar's words suggest a broader pattern: silence, complicity, and enabling, where even those harmed felt forced to keep the cycle going.
I don't F with that dude. And at the time, I didn't even know who the F Usher was. You know what I'm saying? It was one of those type of situations. And when probably say, yo, man, I don't F with the getting out that industry and everything like that. You know, Puff sent this little kid to the hospital. How he sent him to the hospital? Man, bleeding from the butt. And that's what was said. But I didn't even have a name for the kid at the time. Then you hear it, and that's what happened.
Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, has become one of the most outspoken voices about what went on behind closed doors during Diddy's prime. Unlike those who only heard rumors, Gene was there. He worked security for years, moved through the same rooms, stood by the same doors, and saw firsthand how young artists like Usher were treated.
I'm not afraid to say what I saw or what I didn't see. A lot of people want to make up shit. I don't make up things. When I say Puff go in the room with two girls, you understand, and another guy, and a rapper, and then all of a sudden, they cousin try to go in the room, I throw them up against the piano, they run out the room with grabbing towels and they naked. They still had two girls in the room. But people want to make up a lot of and say what they want to say and flip it the way they want to flip it. I tell it like it is. But you got these guys, you got these people out here, man, you know what I'm saying? You know, all entertainment, man. Some people want the truth, some people speak the truth. Some people don't even know the truth, it'll smack them dead in the face, brother. But I tell you one thing, it's from my mouth to God's ear. And all these clowns can say whatever they want to say. Like I'm just saying, he lived a rock and roll lifestyle when I was with him, bro. I don't know about his addiction and stuff like that. He was a totally different person, bro. When I try to tell people that, they don't understand that. He was probably doing some of the little doing some things and stuff like that.
Gene has gone on record in multiple interviews talking about what he personally saw Usher go through while staying with Diddy as a teenager. He's been clear, he witnessed things no child should be exposed to. He says he was present when things happened around Usher that he couldn't stop, even if he wanted to, and the pain of carrying that knowledge is something he's spoken about openly.
When Usher got on Shay Shay, and I don't mean to mention other people's platforms, but he got on Shay Shay and he mentioned how great and how good Puff taught him and everything. You know what I'm saying? About the business, right? I know, and people know, that was around in that time that Puff and Usher did have a situation. And that situation led Usher to the hospital. Now, I let Usher explain that to y'all. I let Usher tell that story. But how dare you say a man that groomed you, you gonna give him a pass? Bruh, you know I know. Let me reframe you on something. Remember Usher? We was at the Swiss Hotel. Puff had Kim in the room. Had one of Keith Sweat's baby mothers in the big room outside the master bedroom. He came outside in his robe. She gave him a fellatio right there. His back was turned to me. She gave him a fellatio. You knocked on the door. I came and opened the door for you. Puff went in the room. You came in the room and kissed that girl dead in her mouth. Now I'm telling that because you taking up for somebody that you know and a lot of more people know didn't do you right.
Gene says Usher wasn't in the wrong place at the wrong time. He was placed in those situations deliberately, and as Diddy's bodyguard, Gene was ordered to stand down, secure the space, but don't interfere. Now, years later, he's done staying quiet. His honesty has inspired others to speak out too. Gene's perspective is powerful because he didn't just hear rumors, he saw the reality. He was one of the few adults in those rooms who now admits Usher was exposed to things no teenager should have been part of. He even alleges Diddy personally told him he had an inappropriate relationship with Usher, and while the lawsuit doesn't name him, it points to a figure who performed at the Super Bowl halftime show, and all signs point to Usher. Gene also remembers Usher being hospitalized during that time, serious enough to end up in a medical facility in Scarsdale, New York. He won't give details, saying only Usher or his mother should explain, and there's more. He recalls a disturbing incident at the Swiss Hotel involving Diddy, Usher, and others, where Usher walked into a scene no teenager should ever see, and then went along with it because in that environment it was treated as normal. To Gene, that wasn't mentorship, it was grooming.
Y'all put it together.
And what you mean by Diddy count?
Remember? He was on one of the talk shows. The white guy with the curly hair. What's his name? The white guy with the curly hair. And he said, yo, would you send your son to Diddy camp? And Usher said, no. Ask him why he won't send him to Diddy camp. But yet and still you praise him.
Damn, man, and you said that, I know you can't go into detail, but you said that it was a situation where Diddy sent him to the hospital?
Let Usher explain that to you. Let Usher mama explain that to you. And the hospital was in Scarsdale, New York.
Gene's testimony hits hard because it comes from someone who was inside the house, inside the hotel, inside the world where a teenage Usher was told this is just how the business works. Now, with Diddy facing lawsuits and criminal charges, Gene says the truth is catching up. He wants people to understand Usher wasn't just shaped by the industry, he was hurt by it. According to several insiders, there's a disturbing pattern, one that mirrors Cassie Ventura's allegations of manipulation, coercion, and control. Some believe Usher endured similar treatment. It's even alleged that Usher as a teen may have been passed around to powerful men, with Diddy using him as leverage. And unlike Cassie, Usher has never told his full story. Maybe out of shame, maybe out of fear. Some insiders say that fear wasn't imagined, that Diddy was known for recording private encounters, consensual or not, as leverage. If true, Usher may have been one of those recorded, and that could explain decades of silence. And then came the public incident. Former Danity Kane singer Dawn Richard testified that she witnessed Diddy physically assault Cassie Ventura in 2010 in public during a high-profile dinner, with Usher allegedly sitting at the table. She said no one intervened, not Usher, not anyone. And in light of everything else coming out, his presence that night is now under scrutiny. Whether Usher will ever speak out about what he saw or experienced remains unknown, but his name is now tied to a story growing darker by the week.